Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to another session we have today on this beautiful 26th of February. I'm joined here with Michael on Skype, where he's in Germany. I'm here in Minnesota, the United States. And we are going to continue in the script. What does the Bible tell us about conspiracies? Session 12. Michael, welcome.
Yeah, hello, Brad. Hello, dear listeners. I have to apologize for my sluggish, bad English in the last session. I hope I can improve it in that session. I'm doing my best, but sometimes you see you got, I don't know if it is a biorhythm or what it is, but sometimes you have a good day and sometimes you have a bad day. I
Yeah,
hope that
that's right, Michael.
this day improves
This
over
is
time.
true. This is true. You know, the more we are able to get online and do these sessions, hopefully the better we get. But of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And certainly, dear listeners, if you're not impressed with what we're doing here, you know, you don't have to stick around. There's plenty of other places on YouTube to go. This is a very specific topic that we're dealing with, and it has to do with the Bible. So if you're a non-believer, you might have a very hard time understanding where we're coming from, because we're coming from a place that the Bible depicts as not welcome to the natural man, being the man that denies that God came in the form of Jesus Christ, and that he died to forgive us from our sin. And you know, it's a humble place. It's not an exalted place, and that's exactly contrary to the way this world operates, Michael, as far as I'm concerned, because this world operates on a what can we say, an hierarchical type of system. And that hierarchy has been in the very forefront of, you know, keeping us from the real truth of the matter, which is hidden with Christ. It's not necessarily public, is it, Michael?
No, nobody wants to speak the truth because they are afraid of any consequences, and we have to face the consequences because what other purpose could it be to tell the truth? Because the truth is Jesus Christ. So if you're not allowed to tell the truth, then then you are not allowed to talk the gospel of Christ. That's very easy and very logical to me. I said last time, that is my humble personal opinion, that we have to use common sense in everything that we have been presented with, that everything is presented onto us with the so-called media because they wanted to manipulate, influence, and indoctrinate us. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt and make your own conclusions, draw your own conclusions, and to do it in a way that it would suit the Bible. Last time we were talking about Superman's mission for President Kennedy. Now we are also in the year 1963 already, when I would like to step a little bit back, because now we will approach that the journeys that the President Kennedy did to Europe in the summer of 1963 for several reasons. But going back to the problem of the campaign running for presidency, you see that there was a caption, Big John and Little John. It showed Pope John the 23rd sitting on his throne with his hand on John F. Kennedy's head, bidding him to, quote, unquote, be sure to do what Papa tells you. So that Papa means the dad. So Pope or Papa. Pope means in English Papa, and Papa means Pa, so means dad. Yeah, so that you know that in Matthew 23, it is forbidden to call any man your father, because one is your father which is in heaven. And so the title of the Pope itself is against the Bible. It strikes me actually that these many Roman Catholics actually don't know what it is, because obviously they do not read the Bible. I don't know, but it's so simple that even a very young child can grasp it. You see, this is 23:9, Matthew, Brett.
And call no man father on the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven.
Yeah, and so the Pope means father. Yeah, so they're doing everything against the Bible, it seems, and that's their office. Also in Matthew 23, you see that name nobody your father. There's the German portion. And this is the actual campaign, a little bit bigger display here. So Little John Kennedy, the American president, and Big John, the Pope. So who's the mightiest or who the most powerful man in the world? Usually people think, oh, it's the American president. But if you think that comic here, I think that speaks another language, tells another tale. Can't buy the White House. So that was President Kennedy promising the American audience in the 1960 speech that he won't take any orders from the Vatican or from Cardinal Cushing or from whomsoever, that he was only obliged to the oath of presidency to the United States Constitution and not of any Vatican orders or Roman Catholic belief system. Very interesting and very prolific point also. Yeah. And there was another one, which I did not capture here, showing Pope John with suitcases and trunks at the ready, prepared to move into the White House. So that was a very big concern in the so-called Protestant America of the 1960s. So what is left of Protestantism in the United States in 2022? Not much. Yeah. The members of the Kennedy family, going back to 1939, when, as a member of the Vatican Secretary of State, the Pope has met them when they attended the coronation. I will separate it. Coronation of Pope Pius XII in 1939. Pope Pius XII, meaning Eugenio Pacelli, so-called Hitler's Pope, who was then getting into office in spring of 1939. So half a year before the Second World War was taking place. At that time, the father of JFK, speaking of Joseph P. Kennedy, was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's ambassador to Great Britain and was regarded as a prominent American Catholic. So you see here the entire Kennedy family, most likely the eldest son behind the camera, but also John F. Kennedy here. So I don't know, I know that's a very small, tiny picture. Sorry for that. At the Vatican, you see here the Swiss Guard. Yeah. I know it's a black and white picture, but I can tell you that the picture seems to be legit, seems to be correct. Yeah, and that's the problem with it. This is the invitation of the American pontiff, Ante Camera Pontifica. His Holiness will receive in private audience Mr. James Roosevelt and wife, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Houghton, etc. on the day of Monday, the 23rd at 12:30 in the Vatican, 22nd of October, 1933. Very interesting. So in 1933, just when the new, so-called new Pope was elected, not by God, but by man, then family Kennedy or Mrs. Kennedy already went there, Mrs. Kennedy, and then the entire family went in 1939. So they went several times to the Vatican. Very interesting point. There were no ordinary Catholics. You see that the father of JFK was a Knight of Malta, and he was a high-ranking politician. He was ambassador to Great Britain, one of the highest offices that the American government could provide to anybody. That's why JFK's father thought he would have a chance to run for presidency, but he didn't got that chance because officially of his pro-Nazi ties or pro-Nazi sympathizing with the Nazis. So this is the official explanation. I don't know what the actual explanation is. Yeah. So it is very interesting that this title of this book is called Tempting All the Gods. Joseph P. Kennedy in this short time as American ambassador to Great Britain, 38 to 1941. Ambassador means a diplomatic emissary of a ruler. Interesting. Yeah, so these people there, they knew each other very well. So he even knew the Pope in Mrs. Kennedy, his mother, even knew the Pope 6 years before he was elected Pope. So this is yeah, this is a intimate relationship to the papacy here from the sides of the family Kennedy bred.
Never knew that.
Yeah. But fate intervened. It was not fate, of course, there is no fate. It was to be Pope Paul and not Pope John who was to meet with President Kennedy in a historic audience. Because when the new Pope was elected, because the older Pope has died, President Kennedy, few days after the election, was heading by plane to Italy and then was visiting the Pope. President Kennedy, realizing the importance of this moment, gave a slightly nod of his head in the pontiff's direction, and they both shook hands solemnly. Yeah. And the Pope actually having met in audience of First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy only just a year before. So you see that the entire family of Kennedy was devoted to the Pope. We're speaking about his mother, his father, and his wife. Interesting. Interesting, so many things. You see that also here, presidential speechwriter and aide Theodore Sorensen. Yeah, so you see that he was not doing his speeches on his own. We will cover so many things. Also, this is a very prominent man. He's called David Powers, as well as Kennedy, a son of Irish immigrants. A Roman Catholic, he was a chief usher at the St. Catharina of Siena church in Charlestown. Yeah, the apple does not fall far from the tree, it seems. He joined Kennedy's campaign after being impressed by a heartfelt speech Kennedy gave to Gold Star mothers who had lost sons in World War II. After Kennedy was elected to Congress, Powers was at Kennedy's side at every step towards the White House. Yeah, and money too, huh? When Kennedy was elected President of the United States in 1960, he appointed Powers as a special assistant to the President. In this role, Powers watched over the President's needs and was always with him on trips around the country and abroad. He usually was the first to see the President in the morning and the last to see him at night. I wonder where all these strange relationships to women then were covered. The last to see him at night. I highly doubt that. Yeah. Historian Robert Dalek wrote that Powers was part of the so-called Irish Mafia, a small group of White House aides who were uncritically loyal to Kennedy and had made his rise possible, and that Powers was the first among equals. Oh, the first among equals. Interesting. During the assassination of President Kennedy, Powers and Kenneth O'Donnell, another Kennedy aide, were riding in the Secret Service follow-up car directly behind the presidential limousine. In 1996, the Assassination Records Review Board released 3 minutes of film footage captured by Powers in Dallas prior to the assassination. Powers said he began filming when the motorcade left Lafayette, meaning the airport in Dallas, but ran out of film at 12:17 p.m. before reaching Dealey Plaza. Once again, the official time of the assassination took place in Dallas was 12:30, so 13 minutes before. We have to believe that it is true. Powers stated that JFK was the greatest man I ever met and the best friend I ever had. Well, that's it. Kennedy was very sad that the Pope John died before he had a chance to meet him officially. Pope John had long awaited his chance to meet with President Kennedy. He had planned to eagerly present him with a gift, a signed copy of his encyclical Pacem in Terris, which the president was known to have admired and which had dovetailed with his own address. His strategy of peace, which he had delivered at commencement exercises at American University in Washington, D.C. earlier that June. And here it is, said the cannoneer, one of the only 3 signed copies in existence. The president became subdued and studied the document for a few moments. This encyclical, Pacem in Terris, means literally peace on earth, and was a papal encyclical issued by Pope John XXIII on 11th of April 1963. And he died in June that year, so 8 weeks later, on the rights and obligations of individuals and of the state, as well as the proper relations between states. Peace on earth. Well, I have a hard thing in believing that peace on earth for the papacy means the same as peace on earth for the real Christians or Christian followers. Let's look it up in the book of Matthew, which is then Matthew 10:34. For the equivalent now in English.
Yes, Michael, and Matthew chapter 10, verse 34 reads, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a second verse in the Bible which is fitting. It's John 14:27. Let's look it up as well. John 14:27, sorry.
Yes, and that reads, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid."
Yeah, so the peace that the world is promising and tries to take care of seems not to be the peace that Jesus Christ is meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very interesting because out of a sudden, when it comes down to sudden, yeah, it's First Thessalonians, Paul speaking to the people in Thessalonians. First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3.
And that reads, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape."
Here it's speaking about the second coming of Christ. It's a speaking about the day of the Lord in verse 2.
Yes, the great and terrible day of the Lord.
Mm-hmm. So what's up when the papacy is coming with an encyclical called Peace on Earth, so that they're actually striving for peace on earth, but this peace of the papacy, which means the peace of the wicked one, of
The peace of the Antichrist, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the man
This
of
is
sin.
the encyclical. And I think that is not a very common encyclical, but I found it very interesting because it was published in the time when John F. Kennedy was president of the United States. So I think it has to be reckoned in that Kennedy also wanted peace, but what kind of a peace? Because I think he would get along because he was a kind of a mirror to Pope John the 23rd. But then in the last year, he had as his presidency, and he had to live 1963, he was confronted with a new pope. So peace on earth, about the rights and obligations of individuals and of the state, as well as the proper relations between states. It emphasizes human dignity and equality among all people and made mentions of issues such as the rights of women, nuclear non-proliferation, and the United Nations, all of which it endorsed. United Nations, yeah, the United Nations are owned by the Vatican. I know that nobody will admit it, or almost nobody will admit it, but you see that actually has been founded to have a one world government. That's the United Nations. It's not the United States.
That's the whole reason they enacted world wars, Michael, as far as I'm concerned, in order to build the United Nations.
Yeah, it's also very interesting when you look upon the symbol of the United Nations. It's so obvious. It's SPQR.
Yeah,
it's a symbol of the Senatus Populus,
the ancient Roman Republic, Michael.
Yeah. Let's look it up for a symbol so that people actually see the relevance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. This is a symbol of the Senatus Populesque Romanum, and this is a symbol of the United States. Yeah, you see a lot of
United Nations.
This is the symbol of the United Nations, of course. You see the symbol here with the depiction of the Earth with the 33 sections.
Although I'll give you, Michael, it's not too much different than the United States. It's a progression, isn't it? United States.
Yeah, let's call it United Nations of States or United States of Nations. I don't know.
Oh, isn't that something?
Everything which is united, you see that
is
something against God's ordainment or God's command that spread out and multiply. But it's just my meaning. It's just my interpretation of it. So once again, back to the script. Yeah, so that was called Pope John's Last Will and Testament, published on Holy Thursday. Oh, what's holy on that Thursday? It's called the Easter gift. Yeah, Easter is not a biblical celebration, although it has been mentioned in the Bible. It is of pagan origin, which you, if you would like to go deeper into that subject, I'd recommend the Two Babylons by Reverend Alexander Hislop. He deals with that subject, and other people as well, of course. Yeah, so also interesting because it's a Declaration of the Human Rights has been issued on the 10th of December 1948 by the United Nations. You see that they are working hand in hand. Yeah, and due to its importance and popularity, Part Cemetery, so Peace on Earth, is deposited in the United Nations archives. How convenient. As well as you know that the successor of Pope John the 23rd was Pope Paul VI, and then he was visiting the United Nations almost 2 years after the assassination of Kennedy in October 1965. We have covered that in Science is the New Religion, session 60, the Foucault pendulum.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the meditation room. Yeah. And this is, I can recommend you for William Cooper. We have dealt with William Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse. I'm not in line with Cooper in some things, or in many things, but he did an interesting lecture of Mystery Babylon, the United Nations Meditation Room. If you are interested in that subject, I'd recommend you to listen to that very study. Okay? Because, of course, yeah, they will be enlightened from above, and it's a cube, and so many things. It's a serpentine here. You see that if you are really familiar with symbolism, you get the meaning. Yeah, so it's one word religion, more or less. Yeah, if you think about the black stone, the Kaaba in Mecca for the Islamic people, and all the things, you see that it shall not hurt anybody. It's a what is it? Economism, ecumenical, right?
Ecumenism. Yes.
Ecumenism, yes. Yeah, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it is not a coincidence that it's 18 feet wide, 666. Huh?
Oh, yeah, 6 plus 6 plus 6.
Yeah, the meditation room represents the light of the skies giving light to earth. Yeah, enlightenment, huh? And the stone in the middle of the room represents an altar that is dedicated to the God who made man worship under many names and many forms. Yes, that was the Jesuit general Arturo Sosa who said that God is a tricky word. God is a tricky word.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many people saying that it's very strange that Pope John II, the Polish Pope, Karol Wojtyla, has a strange coffin, has a strange shape. You can go in anything that you would like to see, but that is... in 1960, people had a problem with the Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic John F. Kennedy being the elected president of the United States, being Catholic. But almost 5 years later, they had no apparently problem with the visit of the head of the Roman Catholic Church, meaning the Pope. That's very interesting how soon things approach after Kennedy was assassinated. Huh? Yeah. The ceremonial staircase in this temple. This is the official explanation by the reporter on that occasion of the visit of the Pope to the United Nations. It said that how prominent the Jesuit Robert Bellarmine would be very satisfied by the visual proof of the Earth rotation, which is absolutely futile, absolutely BS. But you have to listen to session 60 and 57, 58, and I don't know how many sessions again. JFK told his Cardinal Cushing that in his audience with Pope Paul, the Pope has presented him with a replica of Michelangelo's Pieta, which depicted the Blessed Mother Mary cradling the body of Jesus. Yeah, this is the old pagan trinity, Father, Mother, Child. The Blessed Mother Mary and the crucified Son. Of course, Jesus has only been depicted as a baby or as a dead body in the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah, that was this year. Of course, huh? Almost depicted as dead, powerless. Yeah. Who's on top? It's Mary. even if you use the very basic symbolism here, then Mary obviously is on top of Jesus. The June and July of 1963 turned out to be a most memorable trip for the president. Speaking of JFK, more than he ever could have imagined, it would be one that he would talk about incessantly for the remainder of that summer, recalling the places he had seen and the people he had met, from Paris and General Charles de Gaulle. Oh, Charles de Gaulle, coming from a middle-class Catholic and nationalist family. Charles de Gaulle, interested in military matters, because most likely you will most often see him with a hat and uniform of a soldier. Now you see here together with Winston Churchill and Charles de Gaulle, which means Charles from Gallian. It's a part of France. It's like Charles of Wyoming, for example, or Charles of Nevada. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. So this means also that is a title of lesser nobility here. It's like Werner von Braun. Yeah. So you see that is a title of lesser nobility. And only in the English Wikipedia you find that Charles de Gaulle, yeah, Charles André Joseph Marie de Gaulle. Oh, Mary. Yeah, this is Mary in German and France, and so Marie means Mary, was born on the 22nd of November, the same day that JFK died, 1819, in the North Department. And he was raised in a devoutly Catholic and traditional family. Yeah. So his father, Henry de Gaulle, was a professor of history and literature at a Jesuit college and eventually founded his own school. Oh, does that remind us of something? A professor of history and literature at a Jesuit college, Brad.
Right.
Yeah, but it's interesting that he's coming also as well as from the Catholic and as well as a Jesuit background. And he was made the ruler of a state in the state of France. It might not be that big country like the United States, but France has been one of the contenders and one of the countries who had very high losses during the Second World War, and one of the countries where Protestantism in the Middle Ages was very prominent, and French Revolution and all the things, Napoleon and everything comes into play. So France is one important nation. And his father was a professor and at a Jesuit college. The General Charles de Gaulle, yeah, is a general. It's the same as the General of the Society of Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. And in that book here, The General Charles de Gaulle and the Friends He Saved, from Jonathan Fenby, there's one title here, that Minister Leon Blum, a henchman of Satan. I always look upon these little words when I have the ability to do so. But he was being born under the Christian, so-called Christian, so Roman Catholic name, like Charles André Joseph Marie. His education at Catholic schools, the first was run by the Brothers of the Christian Schools of Saint Thomas Aquinas. The one who's mixing the holy with the profane, so the Bible with Greek philosophy, which he entered when he reached the age of 5, a curly-haired boy who had just started wearing trousers instead of smocks. In 1900, he moved to the Jesuit College of the Immaculate Conception in the Rue de Vaugirard, which had evaded the ban on schools run by unauthorized religious congregations by turning itself into a private trust company. Trust. Very interesting. Don't trust any trust. But you see that where all that comes down from, you won't find any Christian who's running a state. Even has a high office, obviously. Yeah. When legislation against religious schools led to the closure of the College of the Immaculate Conception in 1906, Charles was sent to another Jesuit college in Belgium. It goes on and on and on and on and on. The future will be great, he said, speaking about the Jesuits. Very interesting. Yeah. And of course, you have many more prominent Jesuits everywhere. But where to start and where to stop? Where to start and where to stop? Jesuit schools everywhere, especially in Belgium, of course. Belgium is a country which has been founded as with the purpose of splitting Germany, for example, and France, that they don't share a common coast line, so that there are countries in between who served as an area where they could be separated or controlled, more or less. And also Belgium is very famous for having many, many high schools which are Jesuitically controlled. Yeah. So there are many, many, many people who are going to Jesuitical schools. Yeah. So once again, back to Kennedy. Kennedy talks in London with Prime Minister Harold Macmillan to a meeting with Konrad Adenauer, the then Chancellor of West Germany. That is Mr. Konrad Adenauer, then the first Chancellor of the new founded so-called Bundesrepublik Deutschland, which means the Federal Republic of Germany, 1949, okay. So this is Konrad Adenauer. Meet Konrad Adenauer, the first Chancellor of the new founded Bundesrepublik Deutschland, which means the Federal Republic of Germany. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, and what's he wearing here? He's wearing a cape, once again, like Superman or like the official clergyman, with a cross. So like the
Knights Templars, yeah?
Holy Roman Empire.
Templar cross?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always the same. It's always the same. And later on, after he died, there were published many, many, many interesting documents that were black money for financing his party, so-called Christian Democratic Union, which has nothing to do with Christians, but everything to do with the Roman Catholic Church. So this is the party of the Roman Catholic Church. So CDU means the Christian Democratic Union, but actually it must be the Catholic Democratic Union. Yeah. And about the small, but very wealthy country of Liechtenstein, which most likely nobody will know in the United States. I don't know if everybody has ever heard Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein, it's a land in Europe. Nobody will ever visit Liechtenstein because it is extremely tiny country.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that a small country?
Yes, very small country, the Principality of Liechtenstein. Yeah, so it's that big.
Between Austria and Switzerland.
Yes.
Oh, correct. Very interesting geographical location, Mike.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see then to compare it, this is Germany now, and Germany is maybe that big as, I don't know, maybe a state of Nevada or so. And this is just a small portion.
Like maybe New Jersey or something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how
tiny little thing.
Very tiny, very tiny. But it has been used to wash money and all the things, especially in the war. It's about Christianity, yes, of course. Christianity with a cross. Yeah, Tammuz. Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Michael. Many of our listeners here in the States would probably be very offended to learn. If you look up in the book The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop, you'll find that the cross is actually a pagan symbol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this Principality of Liechtenstein, you see that the motto is for God, Prince, and Fatherland. Which God they are talking about? This is the same God which is depicted on the dollar bill, maybe? And the area is just 160 square kilometers. So you have to divide it by 1.6, which means the area is about 100 square miles. That's it. 10 by 10 miles. That's the Principality of Liechtenstein. But it's one of the three wealthiest countries in the world when it comes down to the income for any inhabitant.
Per capita, so to speak.
Yeah, it's of course you can imagine where they got their wealth of. Huh? It's a constitutional monarchy headed by the Prince of Liechtenstein. Yeah, double-headed eagle. No, but an eagle, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always the same. It's always something from the papacy.
Two eagles, actually. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they have given the rights. They have given the rights of sovereignty or what else to the Prince of Liechtenstein. Then. Yeah, so. They have washed money big time in Liechtenstein then. It's the system octagon, which means the Octagon means there are a
Oh,
cube with
Michael,
8.
it's interesting in Europe. You have the eagle, but then you also have the phoenix. So there's something to do with ancient history as far as, I forget the name of was it Phoenicia? There's some tie with Phoenicia and the phoenix, but that's some deep European history. Of course, all the people in United Kingdom there are very offended when you get mixed up with the eagle and the phoenix. But really, when it comes down to it, that's it's very difficult to learn European history. I must admit, very difficult. It takes
and it's also not our topic. I wanted to do a short one actually, and now I'm realizing that it's much more.
Well, it's hard to, because this is something that we're not familiar with here in the United States, Michael. We have to work really hard.
Yeah, but the system is always the same. That there are people, the powers behind, who are financing all these so-called parties.
Exactly. Right.
Now,
so we have to understand at least the basics of that in order to at least get some kind of grip on what's going on,
Yeah, you see that in 1962, your President Kennedy was still in power. And there were many things behind the scenes in Germany and everywhere, that there were parties were financed with dirty money, so to speak. Yeah. Money laundering.
Laundered money, yes.
Yeah. And so this, for example, this Chancellor of Germany has founded or co-founded in Cologne the Rotary Club, which is a forerunner organization for the Freemasons. Now, these people are always in power. And every chancellor in Germany, for example, Chancellor Kohl, who officially has made the unity of Germany perfect, he had money which was illegal, and he didn't tell anybody where he got his money from. Yeah, so he had lost his job, but he did not go to jail. He was not persecuted, because he had a high official position. Yeah, so you get away with that. Yeah. So Mr. Chancellor Adenauer was a founding member of the Rotary Club in Cologne, and was member until 1933, when the Nazis took over the power in Germany. Yeah, and he was member of the Zentrumspartei, the Central Party. Yeah, Central Party. Yeah, so that's a party who gave Hitler the permission to power, and also there were some people. One of them, the leader of the party, was one of them who signed the German Concordat with the Vatican in 1933. Oh yeah. These people are always serving the Antichrist or the papacy or the Roman Catholic system. Yeah. He was the first chancellor in Germany in 1949, when Germany was, or Federal Republic was founded, and therefore there are many people behind the dictators. This is the German portion, of course, from Leo Herbert Lehman, and you see also what is going on, or what has going on behind the scenes. Yeah? It's behind the scenes. The Mr. Franz von Papen was the man behind Hitler, and he was also signing the Concordat between the Vatican and the German Reich, Third Reich. And he said that the Third Reich is the power of the world. The Nazis are using the papal principles. That's him. And he was on a mission. You see that in German, it's the same word, mission. And you know what's going on here. Yeah, he was not sentenced in the Nuremberg trials. He was not sentenced because he had much influence of the Vatican. And then you see that these people get away with that. And then what's later is that he was not only on his mission, but also he was serving the papacy of the Vatican. At the same time, he was serving officially as the co-chancellor in Germany, as the man behind Hitler. Once again, the capital means Latin Capitolum, the name of the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, on the Capitoline Hill in ancient Rome. And then you compare that with the Capitol in the United States. And St. Paul's Dome in London, in the middle here, between the two, between Rome and Washington. You see, it's always the same. Yeah. So these people are serving, and also Mr. Franz von Papen was a sovereign military of Malta. He was a papal camarera, which means somebody who is taking care of the money of the papacy. And Konrad Adenauer has been accused to be a honorary knight of the Teutonic Order. Teutonic means a German tribe, old German tribe. And you see, if you see that symbol here and you see the symbol on his cape, then you know that, oh yeah, there's something, like, could be something to it. It's a German order. The first order was helped to retake Jerusalem from the Arabs in the Third Crusade, so that is way back before the Jesuits ever existed. Yeah. So I will skip this because it's
yeah, that's right. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta is 900 years old now.
Yeah.
More
and
than
it's running and running Switzerland as well. You see
sure.
The symbol of Switzerland.
Well, and that's the thing, Michael, you know, when you discover this and you study this for your own, you know, for your own knowledge, it's very disturbing, actually. Very disturbing to know that all of this power is concentrated in the Roman Catholic hierarchy.
One for all for one. It's not a song of Bryan Adams at the moment. It's just the motto of the Swiss Confederation.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you find it everywhere. Don't ask what Alan Dulles is about. Yeah, they have a Jesuitical brother. They are Knights of Malta. What do you expect? What do you expect to achieve such a high position at these guys? He was once the director of the CIA. You won't get any director of the CIA if you don't go in line with the policy of the papacy. I'm skipping once again because it's... Yeah, and now with the climate news, it's also wealthy children here. It's not only Greta Thunberg, but Carla Reemtsma. She's related to one of the biggest cigarette manufacturer here. Yeah, these are not the usual John Doe children. They are not. They're indoctrinating the people. They are being financed big time because they are coming from wealthy houses. The father of Greta Thunberg is a director, and he's busy with the with the Swedish. He's coming from Sweden. He's busy with his Swedish monarchy, and he's working for the Swedish Royal Theatre. Yeah, so that he's busy writing scripts, and I would like to see the script for his child and his girl Greta Thunberg. Of course, Greta Thunberg is visiting the Pope. The Pope is totally in line the climate policy. There's much coming in. So you see that they control the weather. And we will handle that matter in the Kennedy assassination and this conspiracy series here. So let me surprise you what's coming up in the next session. And it's also been depicted here in the Bible. Yeah, that children won't obey the parents anymore. Although in the Ten Commandments, it is the other way around, that children has to obey their parents and has to respect their parents. But you see that it has to be everything around. Where is it? Oh, it's Colossians 3:21. I did not catch that. Colossians 3. Nowadays, when children got all their rights, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, children have to obey the parents. Yeah, but nowadays children are blaming their parents for spoiling the planet, which is not a planet, but they don't know, of course. Yeah. Yeah, and in Colossians, so Colossians 3:21.
And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall raise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death.
Children shall rise up against their parents. You see, this is the absolute contradiction, the opposition of the Ten Commandments. So we are approaching the age of pure Satanism, and people won't recognize this because they think that it's absolutely natural and logical what they are doing, because they are being indoctrinated in a school and educational system.
Well, and actually that is natural, Michael, because it's the nature of man to be fallen. You see?
Yeah.
It's not the nature of man to follow Christ and to obey his word and to abide in his law. That's not the nature of man.
Yeah, so you got many corrupt politicians. Everybody in Germany knows who's depicted here. Is speaking also about another sovereign military of Malta member called Reinhard Gehlen, a German Lieutenant General Intelligence Officer, Chief of the Wehrmacht Foreign Army's East Military Intelligence Service during the Second World War, then Spy Master of the CIA-affiliated anti-communist Gehlen organization, and the founding president of the Federal Intelligence Service. So, serving the Nazis as a general, serving the CIA, and then serving the German intelligence system. And then which I would tell you that he was setting up the Israeli secret service Mossad as well. So these people are just putting on several uniforms, but the spirit of these people are always the same. It does not matter if somebody is from the United States, from Germany, from Liechtenstein, from Switzerland, from Israel, Austria, or Sweden, or what else. Yeah, these people are just serving their God, their mammon. Yeah, what they are paid for, from whom they are paid, they will serve. But actually, they are serving Satan. It's always the same. The United States is not anti-Nazi. When they got use of the Nazis, for example, of Reinhard Gehlen, to set up the runner-up of the OSS, of the Offices of Strategical Services after the Second World War, and came up with the formation of the Central Intelligence Agency, they used the help of the captured German East Military Intelligence Service, a German lieutenant general, so a high-ranking Nazi. And as well as in that special, when I would mention that in the last session, from the Operation Paperclip, all the captured German scientists for the National Aeronautic and Space Administration for the United States of America. Yeah. If you got something to offer, there's something which will buy it, or something who will buy it. But it's always the same. These are Supreme Military of Malta members. This is a high-ranking Nazi. There's no difference because they all are serving the Pope, the papacy.
Right.
If you wear American badge, if you wear a German badge, if you wear a Russian badge, or what else, it does not matter. If you are a Supreme Military of Malta, you are serving the papacy.
That is your duty. That is your sworn oath.
Yeah, that is the supreme commander.
Yeah.
That is the supreme commander. That is my absolutely spot on number one example is Reinhard Gehlen. And I think you will be very surprised to learn in maybe session 30 or so that he's also related to the Kennedy assassination. It's unbelievable. You see that it's mess everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Gehlen allowed the military conspirators to make their plans with an assassination plan against Hitler under his protection and was presented at their meeting at Berchtesgaden. However, after the bomb plot failed on July the 20th, he escaped, falling victim to Hitler's revenge. Why is that? Because he was protected by the Vatican. He was a spy. Therefore, there was no revenge because he was serving not only the Germans in the Second World War, but in the first instance, he was serving the Vatican, or the Vatican Secret Service on that instant. The general was a spy. Alan Dulles, the director of CIA and the Sovereign Military of Malta, says of his friend and general and Sovereign Military of Malta, Reinhard Gehlen, he says he's on our side and that is all that matters. And he's not speaking as an American about the German. I think he's speaking about the Knight of Malta, about the Knight of Malta.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But that is what the usual public is not aware of and don't realize, that there is an organization behind the organization, or if you like to say so, that is the, what is it? The secret government?
Yeah, it's a private affair. It's not public.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to speak about this in public because guess what? You know, it's
people don't want to hear that.
It's a big club and you're not in it, right? So no, they don't want to hear it. Of course not.
His enemies regarded him as the most dangerous man in Europe, his admirers as an intelligent genius. Nothing less than magical power was ascribed to this so-called spy of the century. Yeah, magical powers. And you know what it's all about, huh? What it's all about. It's all about religion.
Yeah, that's right, Michael.
The general was a spy. Yeah. It's not known for the general public. It is absolutely unknown to the general public who's really not only the force behind, but that there are people out in the open who are not only serving the people as politicians, this is just the exoteric, but are being used as puppets to show to the general audience, and secretly, intimately, they are serving the papacy. Like Konrad Adenauer, like Charles de Gaulle, and many other people, like Reinhard Gehlen, like Alan Dulles. Yeah. Also a very interesting quote here from that book, The General Was a Spy. Only later did a few officers suspect that the Gestapo, so the secret state police, the Geheime Staatspolizei means the secret state police here, system represented something more than a new governmental system's natural requirement for security. Behind the secret government police stood all the diabolism of a totalitarian movement recognizing no norms and no standards. Patzig, the head of the defense, had been among the first to realize this, and his realization dated from a summer's day in 1934 when he had met the incarnation of Nazi evil, the Lucifer of the police state, Reinhard Heydrich, the new chief of the secret government or secret state police office. Yeah, interesting that they are mentioning Lucifer here. That contents on page 360. The general was a spy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Red Army. That's the Soviets on that regard. Hitler dismissed Gehlen soon after his promotion to Major General. Yeah, he could not touch him because he was under the orders of the Vatican. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Gehlen surrendered to the Counterintelligence Corps, CIC, of the United States Army at Bavaria and was taken to Camp King and interrogated by Captain Boker. The American Army recognized his potential value as a spy master with great knowledge of Soviet forces and anti-communist intelligence contact in the Soviet Union. Blah, 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 blah. Shall be translated into real content. Mm-hmm. On May the 22nd, 1945, Gehlen was handed over to the CIC of the United States Army in the Catholic-dominated county of Germany called the Kingdom of Bavaria, which is the most Catholic state of Germany, and was taken to Camp King and been questioned by Captain Boker. The Vatican, through that Captain Boker, realized that he could serve as best because he was a spy of the Vatican with great knowledge of great contexts of Russian forces And so therefore they ordered him from Germany to the United States. So the official history, you see, that is just one on the outside, on the surface, but it has nothing to do with the real truth with it. General Major Reinhard Gehlen, one of the high rankings general of the Wehrmacht, of the Third Reich Army. And he's founding then with the Wild Bill Donovan the CIA. Give me a break. Really?
Yeah.
They needed a Nazi to found the CIA? By the end of the summer 1945, when war was over officially in Germany at the 8th of May 1945, Boker had the support of Brigadier General Seibert, the senior intelligence officer, etc., who arranged the secret transport of Gehlen. So with the secret service, they transported Mr. Gehlen, his officers, and the FQH intelligence archives, etc., etc. Chief of Staff for Eisenhower, who worked with William Donovan, former OSS chief, and Alan Dulles, OSF chief, who always was the OSS station chief in Bern. Where is Bern? Bern is in Switzerland. It's once again, it's a sovereign military of Malta knight Alan Dulles at the Knights of Malta country, Switzerland. Sorry if I raise my voice.
That's okay.
But if you really combine all the things, it's absolutely clear. All the supreme knights of Malta, the sovereign military knights of Malta, were combined, and they knew each other, that they were VIPs, that there were no usual prisoners of war, and then they founded up. They were then, after the World War II has ended, they were then handed over to the most suitable profession. And in that case of that Mr. Reinhard Gehlen, it was the OSS, and then reformed into the CIA. That's why you can also come up with the conclusion that the Vatican has founded the CIA. Do you really think that the CIA needed a German general to be founded? Do you really think so? Oh yeah, they will tell you that that's all about his knowledge about the East because it is against communism. Yeah, but that's another fairy tale, because Joseph Stalin also was a Jesuitical priest.
Yeah, that's right.
So the only purpose is to kill people, which is also the purpose of Satan, of course, to kill souls. If Jesus Christ is the savior, then who's Satan other than the destroyer? We know that from Apollyon, from Revelation 9:11. Oh, 9:11. We talked about that on the last session. Yeah. To become spies for the United States government, or to you see, these are already spies for the Vatican. So it makes no sense if he's in Germany or if he's in Russia and in America or whatever else. He's a spy. Spies are doing things, are being handing over information to the one who's paying the most. Or they have taken an oath, and you can imagine where Mr. Reinhard Gehlen has taken an oath. Then he started his Gehlen organization when the Federal Republic of Germany was suppressed by the United States, and usually the actual policy tells you that it's all over now that Germany has reunited. But there are secret treaties in place that we cannot get a grasp on. So then he used organization Gehlen as a subordinate to the CIA. And then he started to found the German Secret Service. So they used an ex-Nazi general in Germany after the Second World War to create a German intelligence service. If you would tell that a regular German, I think you would receive his fist in your face. They cannot imagine that. Nobody's talking about that, but they cannot imagine that. Yeah, and Kim Philby, for example, I think we will run into him later also. He's a double agent, and that's also not correct. He's not a double agent for the MI6, for the Foreign Secret Service of the Great Britain, of the United Kingdom, but he was also a spy for the Soviets, and he was also a spy for the Americans. So he was a triple agent, or what is it in the American television movie? It's XXX, triple X. So what's it about? So Kim Philby has nothing to do with the Soviets, with the American, or with the English. Yeah, he's serving another state, and I think it's very obvious what it is. So an ex-Nazi guy who was a co-founder of the CIA is then founding the Federal Intelligence Service in the Federal Republic of Germany. Give me a break. It's always very interesting to go in it. But we would like to talk about Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy had made a very interesting speech and said, Ich bin ein Berliner, which means I'm a Berliner, or I'm coming from Berlin, I'm out of Berlin. Yeah, and Berliner is also that kind of a cake here, and I think that is very fitting when it comes down to JFK, when you know that how he ended. Yeah, Ich bin ein Berliner. So that is his famous speech, I'm a Berliner. Of course, where was this speech held? Of course, in the city of Berlin, which then was a departed city. The split city between the west sector and the east sector. East sector meaning communism, ruled by the official German democratic government, which was not a democratic government, but it was actually been under the yoke of Moscow, under the yoke of Russia, the Eastern Bloc. Yeah, and then he was speaking to the Berliners, and a few weeks later, after the speech, they started to create and to build the so-called very infamous the Berlin Wall. So he says that, I'm sympathetic towards the West Berlin inhabitants. That's happened on the 26th of June during the European trip of your beloved President John F. Kennedy in Berlin, Schöneberg, etc. Yeah? Ich bin ein Berliner. This is the original, supposed to be the original note, yeah, so that he knew how to pronounce it. Ich bin ein Berliner. Yeah. The problem is that in Germany, the Berliners, they have a special dialect. They would never tell that this way. They would say, Ich bin ein Berliner, but not ich, but ich. Yeah. So that makes absolutely no sense. But you see that sometimes it's very interesting what people are coming up with. They don't know nothing about dialects. Huh?
Right, Michael.
So he says not only that Ich bin ein Berliner, I'm a Berliner, but he says 2,000 years ago, the proudest sentence a person could say was, I am a citizen of Rome.
Wow.
Today, the proudest sentence someone can say in the free world is, I am a Berliner. Then let me ask you, what is supposed to be meant with the so-called free world? Huh? What is supposed to be meant? A free world? Where's that supposed to be? I am a citizen of Rome. Of course, he's a Roman Catholic on the outside. Ich bin ein Berliner. Yeah. And then the Berlin Wall, and he was, of course, enthusiastically appreciated by the Berlin people. But then, not in June, not in July, but in August, the wall has been built, and then the biggest newspaper headline in Germany was the West does nothing. President Kennedy, he's silent. That's it. Yeah. So on 26th of June, Kennedy says, I'm a Berliner. And then in August, they started to build the Berlin Wall, Berliner Mauer, Berlin. There's an R missing. Yeah. But you see, there are people that were enthusiastic being welcoming Mr. President Kennedy. Why did I picture this? Because it's the most prominent chapel in Germany. It's the Dome in Cologne. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see also this arch here. Yeah, once again, you see that arch here. Yeah, once again in Cologne. And Cologne was not the capital city of Germany then, but he had to visit Cologne because, of course, the Chancellor Konrad Adenauer once was a mayor of Cologne. Yeah, that must be the reason. No, can't be the reason that it was supposed to be held at or in the most important church of Germany. which is, of course, a Roman Catholic church. The Cologne Cathedral is to be said to inherit the remains of the so-called three kings, or three holy kings, which are not three holy kings, and which are not three, and which are not kings. Because we have sorted that out in our Science is the New Religion session. Yeah, but this chapel here, Cologne, proclaims that they carry the remains of the three holy kings. And there is especially a public feast day, a Roman Catholic religious feast day on the 6th of January every year for the memory of the three holy kings who never existed. Because they were wise men from the East. But the general audience does not read the Bible. So they believe everything that the Roman Catholic Church is putting in their direction. Yeah. And they also are using here a roofless car. That's Archduke Franz Ferdinand started also with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Also started officially the First World War. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what people do not get, that it has a special meaning. Yeah? Cologne, a very big city here. Cologne is the largest city of Germany's most populous state in North Rhine-Westphalia. That's where I'm living here. And the fourth most populous city and one of the oldest in Germany, with 3.6 million people in the urban region and 1.1 million inhabitants with the city proper. Cologne is the largest city on the River Rhine, and you see here the famous dome, or infamous dome. You know where it comes from? Cologne was founded and established in German Ubi territory in the 1st century CE. Not AD anymore, but CE, common era. You have to avoid the name of Jesus Christ at any cost. As the Roman Colonia Agrippina, hence its name. Yeah, so it's a Roman colony. It's a Roman colony. That's why they call it Cologne. And I could bet, Brett, that the majority of people do not know where their name of their city comes from. Because in Germany it's called Köln, so we don't see colony or Cologne in it. Yeah, it's right. A bit Köln. It's a bit different here.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I visited your country.
We shall close down that session here because we have talked about Reinhard Gehlen and we have talked about German chancellors and French generals and Alan Dulles and all the things about the Supreme Military of Malta. We will go into John F. Kennedy, especially, of course, in the next upcoming sessions, and there will be much sessions because it's a very interesting subject, I think, especially for American listeners. When you have to deal with an interesting former CIA official called E. Howard Hunt. E. Howard Hunt was an official CIA officer who is most infamous for his role in the Watergate burglaries alongside Jesuitically educated devout Catholic G. Jordan Liddy, and his role on the ground in the 1954 coup d'etat in Guatemala, said in an interview in a documentary called A Coup Made America, which aired on Canadian television series in 1998, speaking on his role in the coup d'etat in 1954 in Guatemala. And I will show you and insert that clip here.
We had gotten the okay from Cardinal Spellman to go ahead with this. And I wouldn't presume to trace the lines of authority within the Catholic Church, how they get their information, but they do. And we've always said, in an admiring way, that the Jesuits form the greatest intelligence service in the world, always have.
You've heard it from a man who was a spy, so you don't have to believe everything he says, but he's admitting the things that he said. We gotten the okay from Cardinal Francis Spellman to go ahead with this, which means the overthrow of the government then, the coup d'etat. And I would presume to trace the lines of authority within the Catholic Church, how they get the information they deal with. We've always said in an admiring way that the Jesuits formed the greatest intelligence service in the world and always have. And that's the conclusion you have to come up with if you study politics, science, media, music, wherever you go, all roads lead to Rome. And even spies are saying something of substance from time
I'm sorry,
to time.
Michael, the Skype cut out. You said even spies? Is that what you said?
Yeah, even spies are sometimes telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, you got here the subtitles. They should rise up against the communists in Guatemala and overthrow them, says the priest. And then the CIA took that pastoral letter and airlifted it around Guatemala. I didn't author the letter myself, but I think propaganda shop turned it out that he gotten the okay from Cardinal Spellman to go ahead with this. And I wouldn't presume, he said, to trace the lines of authority within the Catholic Church, how they get the information, but they do. And we've always said, in an admiring way, but the Jesuits have formed the greatest intelligence service of the world. Yeah? And I think with that freeze frame, we should stop the session here, because I think it was much information here handed over. And don't miss the next upcoming sessions. They will provide you with many more informations. And although it may seem a bit much from time to time, let me tell you, it's so fascinating when you discover the truth. There is just only one truth, that the entire world is anti-Christian, except the few people, you and me. And we are glad that from time to time we got some new listeners who always then get to the narrow way to the truth, which is Jesus Christ. And now I like to hand it over for my brother Brett for his closing remarks. God bless and Maranatha.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, it's always good to touch on these topics again. And of course, they always turn back to the Jesuits and the continued struggle that they wage here in this country and around the world. That is the overthrow of Protestant power in the form of civil authority. And their goal is to defeat Protestantism in any shape, way, or form. And I think they're well on the way to having their goals achieved, especially when they suppress the work that Michael and I do here on this channel so easily. It's no surprise, Michael, that the more you speak the truth, the less people will listen, and the more you will be isolated. And that seems to be the case. But at any rate, our hope and our prayer is with our Messiah, that his spirit will retain all worthiness, and that he will get the glory. That's our hope, and that's our prayer. And hope to catch up with you in our next session when we go further into this, and we confirm even more of this history, because there's always something new to learn, and I'm always learning new things here too. So thank you, Michael. Look forward to catching up with you next time in our continuation on the script. The biblical view of this conspiracy continues, and we see that sinister hand of the Jesuits yet again, and I'm assuming that we're not going to see any end to this until Christ returns. Maranatha.